Okay, hello, you glorious people, lovers of technique, lovers of learning, lovers of the craft of voice. We are here once again on a Sunday for full exploration of technique, pedagogy, your personal questions for me, whatever you want to ask me, we can do it. That's what we're here for. So I'm here to take the hot questions and hopefully help you guys out. Thanks again for being members of our channel. Love getting to interact with you guys and explore these topics. So we're going to go right for the questions. All right, and so we've got some questions actually from the last class that we didn't get to. You know what? I don't think I know about her. So we'll skip that one. Okay, so we're going to go for these questions. From Jake F. I don't know if Jake is here today, but Jake F. last time asked, what's the difference between vocal twang and glottal compression? To my understanding, both sounds have to do with, can you pull that one back up there for me? No problem. Both have to do with narrowing or manipulating the glottis to create the compressed or twanged sound. Are these the same thing or different? Okay, so very good question from Jake. Basically, what's the difference between glottal compression and twang? All right, two totally different things, as a matter of fact, folks. Twang is going to be an internal brightening of the voice, typically caused by the epiglottis being pushed back a little bit. So in other words, the sound of a twangy voice, twang has this internal brightening. Notice that I'm not doing it with an external brightening, I'm doing it with an internal brightening. Notice that I'm also not raising my larynx too much. A lot of times when we do twang, the larynx comes up. But twang, in its essence, is that narrowing of the larynx. So that's this voice. Now, so what's glottal compression? Glottal compression is the degree to which your vocal cords come together when we make a sound. So a sound like this, ah, has quite a lot of glottal compression. A sound like this one, ah, which is of course falsetto, has very little glottal compression. Something like this, ah, this voice right here has some glottal compression, but not as much as this voice has quite a lot. So twang is really essentially a brightening, whereas glottal compression is a soliding. How solid of a sound are you making with the vocal cords? Are they related? Not necessarily. If I take my twang voice and I make a very breathy, twangy voice, I can still have a twangy voice that is low in glottal compression. I could make a dark tone, that is high in glottal compression. So I can have twang and glottal, glottal no twang, twang and no glottal. They are independent from each other. Sometimes they get confused, so thank you, Jake, for helping us clarify that. What's next on the big board? From Stephanie Ayala. Hey, Stephanie. My question is about vocal style. I love singing rock music, but sometimes I feel that it's dangerous to make distortions or raspy voice or crack my voice. Is there a healthy way to do it? Well, yeah, that's a good question. So there's lots of different distortions, Stephanie, and you got to be careful with them. I'm not just going to say that they're completely healthy. If you get very good at them, they can be very sustainable. But you've got several different varieties. You've got the ones that are on the actual vocal cord level, which would be something in the variety of the fry and putting that on actual notes. You've got fry distortions. You've got your false chord distortions, your kinds of sounds. You've got your arytenoidal kinds of distortions, and you've got your epiglottic and arytenoidal distortions. Centuries of green, that sort of deal. So you've got several different kinds, all right? None of them are theoretically bad for you if you do them right, but it just takes a lot of practice to get them right. Without going into great detail on it, one thing I can tell you is you don't want to blast a lot of air, okay? Rock and distortions are usually done quite softly, and we rely on the microphone to do that, okay? So what I'd say is if you're getting hoarse, if you're getting actually raspy, like you're losing your voice, something's going wrong. It should never be painful, and you should never be getting hoarse from it. Sometimes the first few times you're experimenting with it might feel a little ticklish, but ultimately you should be able to do it pretty sustainably. You might want to work with a rock teacher. Some of our staff members here do rasp and distortion. I do it with people. A lot of our staff members do rasp and distortion. But it comes down to fry, false chords, arytenoids, and epiglottis. All right, let's go to the next one. Blaze says hi. Hi, Blaze. No question, just hi. There you go. Hello. Good to see you again, Blaze. Okay, next we've got Yetta with the greatest of all possible last names, NG. Yetta, love it. I am a female. I found it very difficult to sing the low notes with head voice when I was singing classical songs. Can I shift to chest voice in order to sing those low notes? Yetta, I mean, this question, come on, so good, so good. The issue here is classical females are taught to not sing in chest voice, right? And so Yetta is describing a very common problem, which is that when we take that beautiful classical female voice too low, what starts to happen? This sort of thing happens. And yet, if you're not allowed to switch to chest, you just have no power in that head voice. But Yetta, I know what you're thinking. We can't do into chest, okay? You can't switch dramatically. What you need to do, Yetta and all classical females, is you do need to switch to chest. That's the hidden secret. Yes, 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 switch to chest. But it must be a very, very light variety of chest, okay? What we might describe as a head-dominant mix. Head-dominant mix sounds essentially like this in my voice. You can hear, that's not falsetto, okay? But it's a very light variety of chest. So what I can do is I can take my falsetto, or if you're a female head voice, classical female head voice, and take a listen to this kind of stuff. I hope you heard the switch. It was super subtle, but I went from this voice to this voice. And the distinction is not ha versus ha, it's ha versus ha. And they're very similar to each other. You can get those to almost blend perfectly. That's one of our goals. But Yetta and all, you can't do it without switching to some kind of chest. Some sort of M1, we call it M1 or thyroarytenoid dominant production. These are terms that we use, chest voice, okay? You gotta switch it. It can't stay in full head voice or else you're gonna lose your power at the bottom. This was awesome. Now, moving right along to Blaze. My question is that in reality TV shows like American Idol, I've seen many singers change the original composition while they cover a particular song. Why is that so? Well, Blaze, we need to interpret our songs, okay? And I think a lot of, not just those competitions, but a lot of cover artists, one of the big skills of covering a song is having your own interpretation of that song. Some elements of interpreting a song might be, you know, how you perform it, what's the emotional background behind what you're saying, what are your different riffs and runs and stylistic nuances, but also sometimes we might make changes to the melody itself, not drastic changes, but some changes, because that makes the song really fresh. It makes it come alive. We don't want to hear an artist just do it exactly the same way as the original artist. We want to have our own spin on the song. And one element of putting your own spin on it is changing the melody. Again, not drastically, but enough where we say, ooh, that note or that phrase kind of took on a new life because we changed the melody a little bit. Okay, very good. Aha, now from Terry Nosworthy. My voice is strange. I can belt no at G-sharp 4, but not much higher. I only have falsetto until B4, then I'm confused what register I'm singing in. How can I blend that for more consistency? I can sing much higher, fine, regularly vocalizing to A5, that's fine. Okay, so falsetto to B4 and belting to G-sharp 4. Interesting. Well, you know, Terry, my best guess, not having heard your voice, is that sounds like a lot of weight. That sounds like a lot of weight in the instrument, because you should have a falsetto that's higher than B4. All right, that's not you. That's not, you're right. That's a little bit strange. We need to change that. My guess is that you're pushing lots of chest up, because some guys can get up to G-sharp 4 in a full belt, and then that's it. What I would suggest to you, Terry, is flageolet, which is the lighter variety of falsetto. It may be that you're sort of maxing out big falsetto and not finding these little noises that take your falsetto, turn it into flageolet, and up we go a lot higher than you thought you could. So I would suggest to you first flageolet. And then if you're belting up to G-sharp 4, I'm going to suggest soft singing. Soft singing. Don't worry if it's a mix. Don't worry if it cracks to falsetto. Just soft singing. And see if you can find less weight in the middle voice, and see if you can find a flageolet extension on the top. Those things are going to open up a world of possibilities that you might not have explored. Seems like you might be maxing out the chest and also the falsetto. Okay? Now from Paul. Paul says, whenever I record myself talking or singing, I sound like I have a blocked nose and I'm not sick. Try different larynx positions, but it doesn't help. Is there a way around this? Very interesting, Paul. So it sounds like it is stuffed up nose. That's what I'm guessing. It sounds like the nasal cavity is stuffed up. And what we're really wanting is the that buzzy nasal quality. This is what we're really after. Paul, what I have to suggest is don't worry too much about the larynx. Let's have you go hardcore in the direction of M, N, and NG, okay? Vocalizing on those sounds. So that's just simply M or NG. This idea of singing on the nasal, okay? Then from there, start to open that up to different vowel sounds. We could, let's just pick me, 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 me. finding an E vowel or nay, 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 and allowing whatever you can get up into the nasal to influence those vowel sounds. Paul, you might also have to check with the doctor. Sometimes people have compromised nasal cavities. It may be from severe allergies that you need to take a look at, or sometimes people have like polyps and blockage, and it may actually be that you are blocked up there. And in some ways, all the vocal technique in the world can't fix that if you do have that problem. You have to go and see a specialist, see if there's sprays or drugs, or hopefully not having to have surgery. But sometimes there are solutions to finding more space up there in the nasal cavity that are medical. Okay, good. Alrighty. Now, oh, Joanna, a new member. Welcome. Oh, no, from last time. Oh, she is a new member. Okay, well, Joanna, welcome. We would love to have you. Can you say something generally about what differences male and female voices have and how to kind of transition between them? About what differences? I'm not sure I understand that question. Joanna, we're going to come back to this question. I'm not really sure what you mean by transition from male to female voices. So maybe you can clarify that question. I promise to get back to that in a little bit, but we'll take another one for right now. We'll come back to Joanna. Austin Scott is next. Whenever I'm singing in the higher part of my chest range, my larynx always wants to rise, and I feel the muscles under my chin pushing down. How do I work on eliminating these tensions? My tongue does not push back when this happens. Okay, Austin, so this is very common. What Austin is saying here is that he's feeling muscles right here get engaged when he's going up in chest voice and the larynx is coming up. Wonderful, Austin. You really have a good awareness of the instrument. I love that you said your tongue is not pulling down, so we can eliminate the tongue from this equation. What you're speaking of, Austin, is jaw muscles. The jaw muscles in question would be the mylohyoids, the geniohyoids, and the digastric muscles. These are all jaw opening muscles. They are larynx raising muscles, and they are swallowing muscles, okay? So what's happening here, Austin, is your jaw is getting tight for high notes, and it's lifting the larynx, okay? There's gonna be several strategies. We need to, I would first and foremost say hold, try muscle holds. Don't be afraid, get some fingers up into there, into that spot while you're vocalizing, and press in there, not to hurt yourself or too hard, but firm enough where you can antagonize that muscle. You can tell that bad habit, hey, sit down. So if I'm feeling all of that, then I do a, and I press against it to try to eliminate the muscle. This is one thing. The next thing would be movement, making sure that you can move your jaw around. So you might actually try some jaw movement and some jaw stretches, and then actually some jaw movement while vocalizing. You can even do things to kind of move it around so that it's not locking into place. We also might have to do some jaw and tongue kinds of exercises. Like let's say the classic la ga la ga la exercise, which would be like la ga la ga la ga la ga la la ga la ga la ga la la, where my tongue is articulating la ga la ga, and my jaw is hopefully staying still. This is a great jaw-tongue separator, which could help you. And then finally, Austin, we're going to have to do low larynx exercises because it sounds like your larynx is coming up too much. I would recommend doing darker vowel sounds. They usually help with low larynx things. So a great exercise might be something like goog, goog, goog. So that tongue does stay up, but the larynx goes down. Goog, goog, goog. And we want to watch for goog, 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 goog. All of that stuff. We have a goog, 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 goog. Try to stay deep with the larynx as it comes up. So those are all strategies to fix the larynx coming up with jaw muscles, okay? All right, what do we have next? Oh, back to Joanna. Okay, I'm gonna just really see if I can get this, Joanna, to clarify. I see. Okay, so somebody with male vocal anatomy, and they've gone through a puberty change, and they want to get a more feminine sounding voice. Okay, now this is making a lot more sense to me, Joanna. What is the difference between male and female voices? Okay, so the biggest difference in male and female vocal anatomy is the larynx and the vocal cords, okay? The larynx in a male, we have the Adam's apple, is a lot larger, and also the vocal folds are larger, and they're longer, and they're thicker. This is why males generally have an entire octave lower than a female. I won't get into gender roles and types too much, only to say that they are very stereotypical. And in today's world, you might have a male who speaks very effeminately, and that is fully acceptable, and a female who speaks in a very masculine way, and that is very acceptable. So in today's world, it's tough to say, well, here's how a man is supposed to sound, and here's how a female is supposed to sound. But let's assume, Joanna, that what you're saying is that it's a male instrument, and we want to do what is typically a more effeminate quality. Then what it's going to come down to is lightening the compression on the vocal cords. Given the fact that males have a thicker, bigger set of strings to work with, we would need to thin those strings out a little bit. I would need to make sure that I'm not doing quite as much of that thick contact, but find a more decompressed, lighter, more head-dominant production. Okay, so you can see as I've done that with my speaking voice right here, I am in not necessarily that high of a pitch, but a lighter vocal cord coordination. Not falsetto, not chest voice, something that is kind of right in between. This would be the number one way to make a male voice sound, I suppose we'll say, more effeminate, is can we reduce the vocal fold contact? You also might raise the fundamental frequency a bit, which is the pitch. I mean, if I bring it up to, or, and then this is my speaking voice now. Now I'm up here. This is the second thing that we might associate with a female is that the fundamental frequency is higher. So if you have a male vocal anatomy and you're trying to sound more effeminate, the two primary ways you're going to do it is lighten the vocal cord contact and raise the fundamental frequency. Okay? Let's go on to Anita Saho. Hi, Justin. Happy to see you. Happy to see you too, Anita. Welcome. How to build rubato properly in singing? Is there any exercise to help us with that? Wow, this is a really cool question, Anita. I don't think I've had somebody ask this. Rubato, in case people don't know what that term is very free, very almost ad lib, okay? And it's free from all the rhythms, and it allows us to really, really be expressive as a singer. So the best thing that you can do to get rubato to happen is to speak the lyrics, okay? You're gonna speak your text and find out, and speak it really like an actor, okay? Let's take a song. This really can only be done with a song. So if I have Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and it's generally somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, and that's the rhythm that I'm locked into, I can sort of say somewhere over the rainbow. And then I do somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, way up high. And I'm singing exactly the rhythm that I spoke. You can do this with any song. You can take it completely out of rhythm, completely out of music context, speak the lyrics first as you would like an actor, and then try to match exactly the rhythms that you did. You'll need an accompanist that can follow you so that they aren't sticking to the meter, but you ultimately will need an expressive chance at the text where you try it as an actor first, and then go back to the music, and then go back to the accompaniment. So it really all comes down to the text and expressing yourself through that text. Okay, well, what do we have next? JR. Hey, JR. Hi, I'm a male in my 30s. A few years ago, I could sing in falsetto up to high G, above the chest G. So, right there. G5. Now I can only get to a D above chest G. Any recommendations? Yeah, JR, interesting. So sometimes, I wouldn't necessarily say with age, but mostly with usage, we can lose top notes. What it's going to come down to, JR, is not blowing too much air and not pushing too much volume. You're probably wanting those notes to be bigger than they want to be right now. And what I'll suggest to you is getting on the chord level, on the vocal fold level, with things like H, things like glottal, and things like fry. How does this work? Let's say it's an oo vowel, and I'm going to do, that's H, or glottal, or fry. What all three of these sounds do is they're at the chord level, and they allow you to find just the right touch. Because it may be, JR, I imagine, that you're kind of feeling like, and you can't get up any higher. You're trying to gun it, you're trying to muscle it, and it hits a ceiling. We're going to need to find a light arrangement or that goes higher. So go with soft volumes. I would stick with E and oo, and then approach those notes with just the lightest H, the lightest glottal, the lightest vocal fry, things to get it back to the right arrangement. Don't worry if it's a beautiful full sound. It probably won't be. Just look for any little noise, any little squeak that allows you to restore some of those notes. Okay, excellent. Let's go on to Jake. Jake says, how to sing small vowels like I, E, and oo, we were just talking about them, without tension. These vowels are not a problem when sung with a light mix. How do you sing these with a strong mix, or do you recommend modifying them? That's a great question, Jake. So when we have head dominant vowels, like, Jake, you're very good, E, I, and oo, the question is, do we need to modify them or do we leave them alone? It really depends on the note that you're singing, okay? Your first goal, Jake and everybody, is don't change the vowel. Don't change it. Keep it the exact same. Because for the vocal folds to learn how to make their own adjustments, if you're always modifying the vowel, they never learn their task. So your very first step is don't change them. But what you're asking about, Jake, is what if you want a really strong mixed sound? Should you modify them? I would say you can. You really can, especially those vowels. It depends on where you're at in your range. What I'll tell you, Jake, a good rule of thumb for those vowels is right around A flat 4. Okay, that's when you're going to start to modify a bit. Don't do it on G or below, okay, unless you want just a huge finale of a song. But when we start going A flat and up, then E starts to become E, and I starts to become I, and Oo starts to become Oo. So yes, you can start to open those vowels up, modify them if what you're looking for is a stronger, chestier sound at the top part of your voice. All right, very, very good. Next up, Collin Joseph. Hey, Collin. Hey, what's up, Justin? Haven't seen you for a while. Can you show me how to hold my breath back for singing, please? And thank you. Well, let's do it, Collin. To hold your breath back for singing. I like what Collin says here. Remember, folks, that one of our big goals is to not overload the vocal cords with breath. A big reason that lots of the tensions that we've talked about, high larynx, squeezed cords, jaw stuff, tongue stuff, neck stuff, all of those muscles want to engage is because we didn't do our job from below, okay? We didn't have breath support. Now, what is breath support? It is the resistance of the exhale, all right? Don't get confused about breath support and think it means more air. It doesn't, it means less air, all right? So Collin is right here that we're trying to not let the air get out too fast. What we really need to address is the body. And you need to first look at the rib cage, okay? And we're gonna open it up on an inhale. You can try this, you inhale. And then when you exhale, like let's say on an SH, shh, what we don't want is shh, it to collapse. What we're trying for is an inhale, and then I exhale SH, and it stays pretty open. I'm not locking it there. You know, it can move, but it stays pretty open. That resists that exhale. Another big place is the abdominals, okay? We open them up on that inhale, and then on my exhale, shh, they pretty much stay. I don't get this stuff, shh, okay? That's bad technique, where we're not gonna slam the chords with air. You wanna have a and it feels like the smallest little engagement. So we're opening ribs, and then we're keeping them pretty open. We're opening the abdominals. We're keeping them pretty open. You might even feel your low back participate in this. You can inhale. You might feel your low back open, and then the SH, and that should feel like it stays expansive. So everything that you open when you sing, we're trying to make sure it stays fairly open as the phrase goes on. So address your body. Find out what is squeezing and pushing and keep it more open instead. Okay? Okay. And Leanne Pister says, hello, New York. Hi, Justin. Hi, Leanne. Great to see you. And now moving to Vincent the Prince. Wow, a real prince on our show. What gives singing a clean sound, like Florence and the Machine or Sophia Anne Caruso, as opposed to a voice that has a lot of vibrato or brassiness? Well, there's a lot of terms that might be conflicting, so I'll just kind of address many different things. Clean, vibrato, and brassy. Okay, so clean, I would say, is a voice that is not either distorted with rasp and distortion, all of these qualities, or distorted with breathiness. So it's a voice that is not, but nice and clean. Very right down the center. Okay, not raspy or breathy. That's what I would call clean. But you also mentioned vibrato. So versus straight tone, right? You might need to, if you're wanting a clean sound, you might need to make sure that you're not letting it vibrate, not letting the pitch go into vibrato, which is a pitch movement. We would need straight tone. Brassy, I would think, would mean something along the lines of twang. We wouldn't want too much twang or too much darkness, depth, oscuro, but right in between. So it's tough to know exactly what some of those terms mean. Singing has lots of different terminology, but I'd say for a clean sound, the biggest thing you'll need to make sure is not too breathy and not too squeezy, okay? All right, let's go on to another new member. Nabulime, is that right? I don't know. Nabulime, Linda? Great. Hello, Justin. Hi. How can I attain better vocal control? Well, good. Control is several factors. It's not just one thing. We just did a great look at breathing. So we'll say that that's done. You know what we're looking for as far as breathing. Then we need to have good larynx control, okay? Make sure that things don't do one of these. And where we're raising it up, but we were gonna need this idea where the larynx can feel like it actually lowers to go higher. Really, ultimately, it stays the same, but you're going to need that larynx control where pitches don't cause the larynx to rise too much as you go up, and they don't drop too much as they go down. You have a fairly steady larynx. So you're going to have to work larynx control. We will also need register control, where you will work on your chest voice, you will work on your head voice, and then you will learn to blend them in lots of different ways with the mix, okay? So that would be register control. Then I would say that you're going to need to really work every single vowel. Each vowel has its own set of characteristics, and if you can master every different vowel, then you have good resonance control, okay? By moving all the way from the bright vowels like E, to the open vowels like ah and aw, to the dark vowels like and oo. If you can do every vowel and really feel good about it, you have good resonance control. And then don't neglect the nasal resonance as you do this as well. Singing on M, N, and NG, making sure that you have access to that. It's hard to answer a big question like that, very short, but if you do breath control, larynx control, register control, master all your vowels and your nasal resonance, I think your control will be in a much better place. Next, Rose, my friend, oh wait, sorry. Nabulime. LOL at how you pronounced my name, crying, laughing face. It's pronounced Nabulime. Okay, now we got it, Nabulime. Really appreciate it. And now we're moving to Rose, my friend Rose. Hey Jay, how's my favorite vocal teacher? I don't know. How is she? No, I'm just kidding. All right, that's very nice, very nice. I myself have a slight cold. I'm sorry to hear it, Rose. Are the vocalizations I'd use for a tired voice the same as I'd use for when I'm sick? And which ones do you recommend? Yeah, actually, Rose, yes. A tired voice or a sick voice would be in the same family. where we are perhaps dealing with some swelling and some thickness on the vocal cord level. Remember, if you have laryngitis and you're like super inflamed and raspy, hoarse, this sort of thing, then we're just not going to sing, okay? I'm pretty liberal about singing when sick. I think that we can, I think that we should. The reason I think that is because a lot of times you have to audition or have opening night or a big recording session and you're under the weather. And if you've never sung sick ever, how are you gonna know what to do? So again, we're not talking laryngitis, we're talking like the common cold where you're like feeling like you're at 75%. So what do we do then? Like Rose says, same kinds of exercises that you would do when you're tired. Okay, we're going to start with things like nasal resonance. So you might do a nice NG or an M, this sort of thing. We're going to do things that put us on our breathing system, like a trill or good things like that. You can also use fricatives. We're going to spend extra long, extra focused attention on head voice, if you're a female, falsetto, if you're a male, and flageolet for both, okay? So these nice little noises, I recommend E and U, you could do, or this sort of thing to really get the top of the voice worked out. Spend extra long on those things, and then you might consider dragging them down. And letting the upper part of the voice feed down into the lower part of the voice. The thing you really don't want to do when you're sick or feeling fatigued is be blasting a bunch of thick chest voice around, okay? So nasals, trills, fricatives, falsetto, flageolet, working the top of the voice, bringing that stuff down. All right. Collin is asking, Justin, I went onto your website. I found that I can only book lessons with your associates. Is it possible to book one with you? Yes, Collin, I teach lots and lots and lots of lessons, but the thing is you have to go through my assistant for that. He was here. So you can't just book them. All right, he has to schedule you. Okay, and he will. So if you want a lesson with me, Collin, or anybody out there, I do teach, all the time. I've been teaching like a maniac for 15 years, so it's my passion, it's my joy. Book through Michael. You can write to the assistant at New York Vocal Coaching, and we'll get you on the books as soon as we can. Sometimes it gets booked up a bit in advance, but we'll get you as soon as we can. Okay, now we have a new member, Kathleen Bennett. Hey, Kathleen, welcome to our channel. Really appreciate having you. One of the exercises, GAHNG-AHNG, chest mix, nasal resonance, I have been struggling with when I get to my transition. My voice gets weak and breaks. What should I do? I think, Kathleen, you might have the vocal course, the Voice Lessons to the World vocal course. I think you might be joining us from there, which is great. I hope the course is helping you out. One of the exercises is GAHNG-AHNG. I don't know exactly what the pattern is offhand, but the idea would be like GAHNG-AHNG, GAHNG-AHNG, and really coming in strong. What you need to do, Kathleen, is the G sound in this pattern of GAHNG-AHNG is designed to give you the compression and give you the strength. So when you're breaking apart, fine. All that really means is that you're going to head voice, right? You're going to the next register. The only downside of a vocal course is that it's sort of, I can't guide you, and it's also in real time. So it doesn't sort of stop and you made a mistake, it just keeps going. So what you have to do is probably pause it and find exactly where the voice breaks, the exact note. So I'm going along. Ga-na-na-na, sounds good. Ga-na-na-na, sounds good. Yeah. Ga-na-na, oh shoot. Ga, ga-na-na-na, what is happening? Well, it's just my vocal folds preferring to go to the next place. Nothing wrong with that, it's just that that's not the point of the exercise. So I have to drill right on this one. Ga-na-na-na, darn. Ga-na-na-na, no, use the G, use the chest dominance. Ga-na-na-na, oh, now I got it. You might have to go to the exact place that you are struggling with and work, work, work. Don't just let it keep going past there, because then you're just in head voice and it's fine, but it's not going to get the work done. You need to pinpoint the spot that the voice breaks, use the G, use the intention of chest dominance, and iron out that spot, okay? The exercise is designed for success in what you're struggling with, so that's the good thing. Just got to find the spot that you're breaking. Excellent. Aha! David, Boras-y Vidal. My teacher tells me I sound too nasal, also in my speaking voice. What can I do to correct this? Wow. David, we got to really unpack this, because most people confuse the term nasal, even voice teachers. They just don't understand that that nasal is the quality. Now maybe you don't. Maybe you don't sound too nasal. Okay? If you actually have your soft palate down, if this is your problem, you got this, your soft palate is a little bit low, this is what your voice is going to sound like. Okay? Now that's nasal. Alright? And if you have that problem, then you lift your soft palate and everything is fixed. But what I imagine, David, is happening is that the voice is a little bit bright, okay? That the resonances are on the brighter or twangier side. The thing about this is that's not nasal. There's nothing about that that's nasal at all. It's just bright. And most people struggle with a brightness problem and not with a nasal problem. I would say could be 90%. That when we say, ooh, the voice is so nasal, I don't like it. It's not a nasal problem at all. It's a brightness problem. The core fix, David, for a brightness problem is addressing the freedom of the larynx, okay? So you might first do some lower larynx exercises, again on like an or an oo or an o vowel. What's cool is actually to use the nasal while doing it. I could do, for example, or a dark, deep, rounder sound plus the nasal. That way we know it's the brightness and not the nasal. So spend some time, David, with maybe even with your teacher, addressing the larynx. Is it going up tight and bright? And make sure you're addressing that and not the nasal cavity, unless this is actually your problem. Okay? All right, good. Moving right along to body 55 cover. All right. Dear Justin, I'm a classically trained singer, and I'm always told that I should have a lower larynx when singing. Now, what muscles are actually engaged when stabilizing the larynx at a lower level? Well, fantastic. Yeah, body 55 cover, you're right. Classical singing really does involve a low larynx, and we've got only 3 larynx lowering muscles. You've got your sternothyroids, you've got your sternohyoids, and you've got your omohyoids, and that's it. That's it. I could name you about 20 larynx lifters, that's real, and there's only 3 larynx lowerers, okay? If you've never felt this, all you gotta do is go right here at the base of your neck, right above your collarbone, and you're just going to yawn. And what you're feeling there is sternothyroids and sternohyoids. Then if you press over here and do the same thing, yawn, you feel another crazy muscle. That's your omohyoids. All right, so you've got 3 muscles that do it. One thing I can tell you about E55 cover is that please, please, please do not do it with your tongue. Okay? This is a classical singer's nightmare, is when you can't get your larynx down and enough, and so the tongue retracts and pushes down and back. Because when you push your tongue down, the larynx does lower, but then your tongue is all in a bunch, and it causes a huge host of tension problems, especially registrational problems. So if you're a classical singer, it's these muscles under here actually that lower the larynx down, and we keep the tongue ultimately very free. This was great. Gillian Omotoso. Hey, sorry was late. That's okay. What can you do to warm up expressiveness? Ooh, I love that. Well, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about rubato, which is to speak the lyric. Okay? I can't emphasize this point enough. Okay? We get so used to phrasing our songs like musicians. And that's fine. It's not bad, but you've got to learn to phrase like an actor. And the only way to phrase like an actor is to first strip your songs of their music. Okay? I would need to take that song and go really, really far with it. I'm going to just actually demonstrate what I mean because it will help. Again, I might somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. Okay, I might get stuck in that, but if I get into the text, this is if I told a singer to get into the text, they'd be, okay, all right, well, let me try. They say, okay, all right, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, the dreams that you dare to dream once in a lullaby, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. We get this kind of thing. What I'm talking about is actually saying, someday I'll wish upon a star. I'll wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Okay, when I do it that way, it doesn't sound like the song at all, but it puts me in touch with my expressiveness. And it sort of forces me, bullies me into connecting with what I'm saying. It's very easy to hide behind the music and actually hide behind your technique, hide behind the beautiful sounds of your voice. It's hard for many people to do what I just did there, the last thing, where it's truly an expression of the text and the lyrics. So I would say before you perform any song, if you want to warm up your expressiveness, try speaking the text and don't just read it. Speak it like it's a Shakespeare text. It's a Shakespeare poem or a Shakespeare play. Speak it with full-on acting. It could even be bad acting, doesn't matter. It's all about finding the meaning and expression of the song. Okay, so give that a try. Jan Barros. Justin, I have a lot of trouble with flageolet. Figured it out. 2 days of rest, 1 day of exercise is okay, but I still need best exercises. Oh, and the larynx position. Okay, so the question is about flageolet. The larynx can come up in flageolet, Jan. So I wouldn't quite worry about that. All right, it's a very extreme register. It's the highest vocal register except for whistle voice. So the larynx is probably going to be up. I would not worry about the larynx position. What you do need to think about, though, is your volume. And also your vowel. Flageolet, if you push the breath, if you make too loud of a sound, if you open up the vowel, if you are not on the chord level, might just not work at all. And I think the biggest mistake that people make is the volume. I'm telling you, flageolet is so quiet. It is so quiet. It barely makes a sound in most people's voices when they're first getting it. It's like almost nothing, okay? So approach it like that. It's almost as if you go for a big sound, you automatically won't get it, right? You have to be willing to go through your falsetto, and you've got to those little teeny tiny noises, okay? So it's volume, reduced, breath pressure, reduce, shaping, that's not going to cut it. Keep the smallest little shape. If it's oo, keep it. If it's e, just that little e, the smallest e that you can do. So volume, breath, the shaping of it. And then, like I told, I forget who it was earlier that was struggling to get the top. H's, glottals, and baby fry. That helps you to get right on the chord level and make sure that they're finding their right arrangement and not being blown into place. Those things should help you a lot. Okay, I think we have 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. Leanne Pisters, in addition to Collin's question on breath and support, if you want to add volume, do you squeeze your abdominals in order to not put tension on your larynx and throat? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you for this question. Excellent. Something's got to be the power source in the voice, right? And what is it? It's the breath. And if you get louder, do you use more breath? Yes. I mean, that's the gas pedal, okay? So what we're saying with support is, you know, don't let it out too fast. So I have my nice appoggio ribs and my abs, and then I'm a shh or but if I want to add breath, if I want to add volume, it should come from primarily the breath. And so you say squeeze the abdominals. Yes, it's not like a squeeze, but it's just a little extra engagement there. But good to clarify that your power source is your breathing system, and you would need to use an exhale muscle to get that power to increase, and your abdominals are one of your exhale muscles. I would recommend the low rectus abdominis, by the way, Leanne, all the way down, okay? It shouldn't be like solar plexus. It shouldn't be transverse abdominis. It should be all the way down, just a gentle little pressure. This was fabulous. And the very last, do I have any advice from Joanna A? Do I have any advice for getting my kids interested in vocal technique? Oh yeah, I definitely do. Anything particular they should stay away from as their voices are developing? In the teacher training course that I offer, and we have grads from all over the world, we get into this in great depth, but I'll just answer it briefly. First off, kids love to not be treated like kids. If you treat a kid like a kid, they say, oh, how dare you, and they rebel. If you treat a kid like they are an adult and you give them full respect and value their intelligence, they rise to this bar. I've had 4-year-olds in my studio, and they do all the technique, and they practice, and they come back with their recording, and they bring songs that's like, are you kidding me? You are an utterly fantastic voice student. But part of it is how you treat them, and you do need to invent some playful games and things like that for kids, and appeal to what's their interest, whether it might be animals or sports or a particular artist that they like on the radio. So you have to get in touch with what they love. But from there, I have found that if you truly value them as essentially adult voice students, you treat them like they can really handle this, they rise to the occasion in some very powerful ways. The second part of your question, though, was, is there anything to avoid? You don't necessarily treat them like an adult as far as the expectations that we place on them. Their bodies are changing, their instruments are developing, they are not adults. But what I want to make sure you know, Joanna, is that there's been long this myth about kids and belting, and that we must not belt at all. But the thing is, you've got kids that are 7-year-olds and they have big careers on Broadway, or maybe they made it big on a show, or they have an album deal. You have kids that can belt these days now. So we don't want to act as though they can't be in their chest voice and they can't be in their mix. I would say focus on the fundamentals with them. Some of the things we talked about today: breath support, larynx control, registrational control, resonance, all of the good foundations, building their musicianship, building their confidence. However, please do not be afraid for them to learn their chest voice and their mix, and to do songs from Frozen or whatever it is that they like, because they really can use their chest voice and use their mix like an adult would, and it's not destructive as we have been sort of told sometimes. So just don't be too fearful is all I'm saying. Okay, excellent. Now there's so many questions today. We answered at least one from everybody. If you have more questions, we've got to wrap up for the day. You can come back for the next chat. It's going to be next month. You can, with me. There's also chats with Brendan. Okay, I highly recommend that you go to the Brendan chats. He's so good. He's a speech language pathologist, voice teacher, rasp and distortion expert. He just knows it all. So please go and talk to Brendan. I think you could also feel free to email Michael, assistant at New York Vocal Coaching, and you can just say question for next chat, and we will take your question right at the top of the next chat, because lots of great questions from everybody. So I'll be back with you next month. We have these every month, so prepare your questions. And in the meantime, episode 109 tonight of Voice Lessons to the World. Please watch that. I think it's a good one that you'll enjoy. And really just want to say it's an honor to do these with you folks. I really appreciate how passionate you are about learning and how you take your Sunday with me to go deep into these subjects. And so thank you for being members, and thanks for your time. And we will see you next month for another Q&A.